The champagne cork hit my office ceiling with a hollow pop, and I watched my wife of 12 years press her lips against another man's mouth. I wasn't supposed to be there. Food poisoning from lunch had sent me home early from the construction site, and I decided to surprise Jessica at her company's celebration. Sterling and Associates was throwing a party for their newly promoted senior partners, and my wife had been texting me all week about how hard she'd worked for this moment. I wanted to see her shine. The office building's 20th floor was mostly dark when I arrived at 7:47 p.m., except for the corner conference room where music thumped behind frosted glass walls. I'd stopped at the lobby florist, bought 24 roses, and rode the elevator up with a grin on my face, already imagining her surprised expression. That grin died the second I rounded the corner. Through the semi-transparent glass, I could make out maybe a dozen figures scattered around the room. Most were clustered near the far end by the windows, but two people stood isolated near the door, close enough that I could see their silhouettes clearly despite the frosting. The woman's hand was on the man's chest. His hand was on her waist. And then they were kissing, not some quick peck, but a deep, hungry kiss that made my stomach drop through the floor. I recognized Jessica's dress immediately. I'd watched her try it on that morning, a red number she'd bought specifically for tonight. She'd done a little spin in our bedroom, asking if it made her look professional enough. I'd told her she looked perfect. The man was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my truck payment. His hand slid lower on her back, pulling her closer, and she didn't resist. She leaned into it. The roses slipped from my fingers, scattering across the industrial carpet in a spray of red petals and baby's breath. I should have burst through that door, should have made a scene, demanded answers, let everyone at Sterling and Associates know what kind of woman they'd just promoted. But my legs had turned to concrete, and all I could do was stand there like an idiot, watching my marriage disintegrate through frosted glass. They broke apart after what felt like an hour, but was probably only 30 seconds. The man said something that made Jessica laugh. I couldn't hear it through the glass, but I recognized the way her shoulders shook, the way she tilted her head back. I'd spent 12 years learning every detail of her body language. She glanced toward the door. I moved on pure instinct, ducking into the stairwell 10 feet away. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might crack a rib. Through the small window in the stairwell door, I watched Jessica emerge from the conference room, checking her phone. She was smiling, that private little smile she used to give me when we were dating. The man followed her out a moment later, adjusting his tie. He said something else, and she playfully swatted his arm before heading toward the elevators. He watched her go with the expression of a man who just won something valuable. I waited in that stairwell for 20 minutes, sitting on the cold concrete steps, trying to remember how to breathe. My phone buzzed twice, both texts from Jessica. Party's wrapping up early. Heading home soon. Love you. Can you grab dinner? Thinking Thai from that place on Bennett Street? Bennett Street. We'd had our first date at a coffee shop on Bennett Street. She'd ordered a vanilla latte and told me about her dreams of making partner at a big firm someday. I'd been a junior foreman back then, and she was fresh out of law school, and we'd stayed in that coffee shop until they kicked us out at closing. I typed and deleted 5 different responses before settling on. Not feeling great. Ate something bad. You go ahead. Her reply came fast. Oh no, want me to bring you soup? The concern in her message made me want to put my fist through the concrete wall. No, I'll be fine. Congrats again on the promotion. I left the roses scattered in the hallway and took the stairs down all 20 floors. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the railing. By the time I reached the parking garage, my shirt was soaked with sweat despite the November chill. My truck sat in the visitor section, a 10-year-old Ford F-150 with a dent in the passenger door from where I'd backed into a post 3 years ago. Jessica had wanted me to get it fixed, said it looked unprofessional when I drove clients around to job sites. I'd kept putting it off, and eventually she'd stopped asking. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the concrete pillar in front of me. 12 years. We had 12 years together. A house in the suburbs with a mortgage we'd celebrated paying down to 70%. A golden retriever named Bailey who slept at the foot of our bed. Weekend barbecues with our neighbors, the Millers and the Andersons. Jessica's parents came over every other Sunday for dinner, and my mom called her the daughter I never had. We'd been trying for a baby for the past 8 months. The thought hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. 8 months of temperature tracking, ovulation kits, scheduled intimacy that had started to feel more clinical than romantic. Jessica had gotten frustrated last month when her period came, had cried in my arms and said, maybe we should see a specialist. Had she been sleeping with him then? During those carefully timed attempts at conception? Or was this new? My phone buzzed again. Another text from Jessica. Leaving now. See you in 30. Feel better, babe. I started the truck and drove home because I genuinely didn't know what else to do. The roses ended up in a gas station dumpster somewhere on Highway 17. I don't remember stopping. Don't remember pulling back onto the road either. What I do remember, my hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, white-knuckled. The digital clock flipping from 8:47 to 8:48. Jessica's text still glowing on my phone in the cup holder. Maybe just soup for you tonight? I'll grab something on the way home. Love you. Love you. I made it home before she did. The house sat dark, except for the porch light on its timer. Our dog, a chocolate lab named Biscuit, pressed his nose against the front window, tail wagging when he spotted the truck. Inside, everything looked exactly as I'd left it that morning. Jessica's coffee mug in the sink, rinsed but not washed. The throw blanket she'd used while checking emails before work, folded over the couch arm. Her running shoes by the door, laces still tied from yesterday. 12 years of normal. 12 years of real. Except it wasn't real. Or it was, but there was something else running parallel to it. Something I hadn't seen. I fed Biscuit, moving on autopilot. His kibble hitting the metal bowl sounded too loud in the quiet kitchen. He ate while I stood there, staring at the refrigerator. Photos held up by magnets. Us at her sister's wedding last summer. The two of us on a beach in Hilton Head. Jessica laughing, her head thrown back, my arm around her waist. My phone buzzed. Another text from her. Leaving now. Traffic's terrible. Maybe 30 min? 30 minutes to figure out what the hell I was going to say. What I was going to do. I couldn't stay in the kitchen. Couldn't sit on the couch where we'd watched 3 episodes of that cooking show just last night, her feet in my lap. Couldn't go to the bedroom, the garage. I ended up in the garage. It smelled like motor oil and sawdust. My workbench ran along the back wall, tools hung on pegboard above it. Jessica's car stuff took up the other side, boxes of old case files she couldn't bring herself to shred, her college textbooks, camping gear we hadn't used in 5 years. I sat on an overturned milk crate and put my head in my hands. The thing was, I'd thought we were good. Better than good. Last weekend, we'd driven out to Folly Beach, walked the pier, talked about baby names. She'd held my hand the whole time, her thumb rubbing circles on my palm the way she always did. We'd argued about whether to find out the sex or be surprised. She wanted to know. I wanted to wait. We're not even pregnant yet, she'd laughed. Getting ahead of ourselves. When we are, I'd said, I want to wait. She'd kissed me right there on the pier, tasting like the saltwater taffy she'd been eating. Okay, we'll wait. 5 days ago, 5 days, and now this. Biscuit nosed the garage door open. I hadn't latched it, and came to sit beside me, resting his head on my knee. I scratched behind his ears, grateful for something to do with my hands. Headlights swept across the garage door window. Her car in the driveway. My heart kicked into overdrive, same as it had outside that conference room, But I couldn't hide in a stairwell this time. Couldn't watch from behind frosted glass. The door from the kitchen to the garage opened. Jessica stood silhouetted in the doorway, still in that red dress, her heels in one hand. "Hey," she said. "Your truck's here, but you weren't inside. Feeling any better?" She looked tired. Happy, but tired. Her hair was still perfect, makeup still flawless. She'd reapplied her lipstick. I could tell because she always used a darker shade than she wore to work, and her lips were that deeper red now. Had she reapplied it before leaving the party? After kissing him? "Yeah," I heard myself say. "A little." She came into the garage, picking her way carefully in bare feet. "What are you doing out here?" "Just needed some air." "In the garage?" She smiled, but it was uncertain. "You're being weird." I should have said it then. Should have asked her straight out, "Who was he? How long? Why?" Instead, I said, "Long day." "Tell me about it." She leaned against the workbench, setting her heels on the concrete floor. "The celebration went forever. I thought Peter would never stop making toasts." Peter. I'd met him once, at the firm's holiday party 2 years ago. Older guy, managing partner. Definitely not the man in the expensive suit. "Anyone else there?" The question came out casual. Too casual. "The usual crowd, most of the senior partners, some associates." She studied her fingernails. "Why?" "Just curious." She looked at me then, really looked. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You sure you're okay? You're acting strange." "I'm fine." "You're sitting in the garage in the dark." I was thinking. "About what?" "About the way you laughed when he whispered something in your ear. About how you touched his chest before you kissed him. About the text you sent me 20 minutes later saying you loved me." "Work stuff," I said. She accepted this with a small nod, but she was still watching me carefully. Jessica had spent 12 years reading people for a living, cross-examining witnesses, spotting inconsistencies in testimony. I was a terrible liar on my best day. "Did you eat?" she asked. "Not hungry." "You should have something, even if it's just crackers." She pushed off from the workbench. "Come inside. You're freaking me out a little." I followed her into the house because I didn't know what else to do. She went straight to the kitchen, opened the cabinet where we kept the soup. Campbell's chicken noodle, the kind my mom used to make me when I was sick. "Sit," she said, pointing at the table. I sat. She moved around the kitchen with practiced efficiency, heating the soup, getting a sleeve of saltines from the pantry, pouring me a glass of ginger ale. The same thing she'd done 100 times before when I was under the weather. The same careful attention, the same small gestures of care. She set the bowl in front of me, crackers beside it. Then she pulled out the chair across from me and sat down, chin propped on her hand. "So," she said, "tell me about your day, before the food poisoning." "Not much to tell." "How's the Bennett Street project?" I'd forgotten I'd told her about that. We'd gotten the contract 3 weeks ago, a commercial renovation downtown. Good money, tight timeline. "Fine, on schedule." "Just fine?" She smiled. "You were excited about it last week." "Because last week I'd thought my wife was faithful. Last week, I thought I knew who I was married to." "Tired," I said. "That's all." She reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Her wedding ring caught the kitchen light, the small diamond I'd saved 6 months to afford when we were 26, and broke and stupid in love. "You should eat," she said gently. "Then get some sleep. You look exhausted." I looked at our hands. Hers on top of mine, her thumb doing that same circular motion she'd done on the pier. A gesture so familiar I usually didn't even notice it. "Jessica," I said. "Yeah?" I was going to ask. I was going to say it. "I saw you tonight. I saw you kiss him. I saw everything." But what came out was, "Nothing. Never mind." She squeezed my hand and stood up. I'm going to change. Eat your soup. She left the kitchen, her footsteps soft on the stairs. I heard the bedroom door close. Water running in the bathroom. The soup sat in front of me, steam rising. I picked up the spoon and set it back down. My phone was still in my pocket. I pulled it out, opened the text thread with Jessica, scrolled up through the messages from today, from this week. Looking for what? I didn't know. Some sign I'd missed? Some clue that would make this make sense. Don't forget we have dinner with Mom and Dad Saturday. Can you grab milk on your way home? Missing you. Long day. Love you. Normal. All of it completely devastatingly normal. The soup sat cold in the bowl. I'd been staring at it for 15 minutes while Jessica slept upstairs. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake, my foreman. Feel better, man. Don't worry about the Bennett site tomorrow if you need another day. Bennett. The name hit me like a fist. Bennett Street, where Jessica said she'd grabbed lunch today. Where she'd been texting me from at 12:30, complaining about the sandwich place being out of turkey. I pulled up her messages from earlier, scrolling back. There it was. Ugh, Bennett Deli is out of turkey again. Got chicken instead. How's the site? My hands started shaking again. I opened my laptop, the blue light harsh in the dark kitchen. Google Maps. Sterling and Associates was downtown on 5th Avenue. Bennett Street was across town. 20-minute drive, minimum. But her next text had come at 12:47. Back at the office, partner meeting in 5. 17 minutes. Not enough time to eat, let alone drive both ways. I sat back, my chest tight. Maybe she'd been at a different Bennett. Maybe. No, stop making excuses for her. I typed Sterling and Associates into the search bar and clicked on their website. Professional photos, bios of the senior partners. Jessica's wasn't up yet, too new. But the others were there, 12 partners total, 7 men. I studied each face, looking for broad shoulders, that particular way of standing. The website photos were formal, stiff, hard to tell. Then I saw the firm's social media. Instagram, updated regularly with office events, case victories, team photos. I scrolled back through November. There, a post from 3 days ago. Celebrating our newest senior partner. Congratulations, Jessica. The photo showed Jessica in a conference room, surrounded by colleagues. Champagne glasses raised. And there, in the background, slightly out of focus, the tall man from tonight. His hand rested on the back of a chair. Casual. Comfortable. I zoomed in. The photo quality pixelated, but I could make out his face well enough. Strong jaw, dark hair graying at the temples. Older than me by maybe 10 years. I went back to the partner bios and found him in 30 seconds. Andrew Whitman, senior partner. Practice areas, corporate law, mergers and acquisitions. J.D. Harvard Law, 1998. Andrew joined Sterling and Associates in 2005 and has been instrumental in expanding our corporate division. The bio went on. Married, 2 kids in college. Board member of 3 charitable foundations. Everything a successful lawyer should be. I clicked back to Instagram, scrolling through months of photos. Andrew appeared in dozens of them. Always professional, always appropriate. But now that I was looking, really looking, I could see it. The way he stood near Jessica in group photos. How her body angled toward him. Small things. Tiny things I would have missed if I hadn't seen them tonight. A photo from September, the firm's annual retreat. Jessica had mentioned it, said she'd be gone for the weekend at some resort upstate. In the photo, she wore casual clothes, jeans and a white blouse I recognized. She was laughing at something off camera. Andrew stood 3 people away, but his eyes were on her. August. A charity gala. Jessica in a black dress I'd helped her zip up that night. She'd come home at midnight, smelling like wine and perfume, and climbed into bed beside me. In the photo, Andrew's hand rested on her lower back as they posed with a group of donors. July, June, May. I kept scrolling, my stomach churning worse than the food poisoning. How long? How long had I been the idiot husband, packing her lunch and texting her during the day while she... A noise upstairs. Footsteps crossing the bedroom floor. I closed the laptop as Jessica appeared at the top of the stairs, wrapped in her bathrobe. "You're still up?" She descended slowly, concerned. "Honey, you should be resting." "Couldn't sleep." My voice sounded normal. I was getting better at this. She crossed to me, pressing her palm against my forehead. "You don't feel warm." Her hand slid down to cup my cheek, and I forced myself not to flinch. "Did you eat the soup?" "Not hungry." "You need to eat something." She moved to the refrigerator, and I watched her. Really watched her. The way she moved through our kitchen, opening cabinets she'd organized, using the mugs we'd picked out together at that pottery place in Vermont. 3 years ago? 4? Everything in this house was ours. Built together. Chosen together. Except, apparently, it wasn't. Not really. "How about toast?" she asked. "Plain toast might be easier on your stomach." "Jessica," she turned, bread in hand. "Yeah? Say it. Ask her. Stop being a coward." "How was the party? Really?" Her smile was radiant. Genuine or a perfect fake. I couldn't tell anymore. "It was wonderful. A little overwhelming, honestly. Everyone kept congratulating me, and there were all these speeches." She put bread in the toaster. "Andrew, he's one of the other senior partners. He gave this really nice toast about how hard I've worked. It was sweet." Andrew. She said his name so casually, like it meant nothing. "That's nice," I managed. "He's been a good mentor. Really helped me prepare for the partnership track." The toast popped up, and she buttered it carefully, the way I liked it. I'm lucky to have colleagues who support me like that. Colleagues. Right. She brought the plate over, setting it in front of me with a glass of water. Then she sat down, her hand covering mine on the table. "I know you're not feeling well, but I'm really glad you're here. It means everything, having you to come home to." I looked at our hands. Her wedding ring caught the light. White gold, simple band. We'd been so young when we got married. 23 and 25, barely adults. Everyone said we were too young, that it wouldn't last. We'd proved them wrong. 12 years. 12 years of proving them wrong. "Did anyone else from the firm go to the party?" I asked. "Like spouses?" Something flickered across her face. Too quick to read. "A few, not many. It was mostly just the team." "Your team?" "The corporate division, yeah?" She squeezed my hand. "Why?" "Just curious. Wanted to picture it." I picked up the toast, forced myself to take a bite. It tasted like cardboard. "You looked beautiful tonight, in that dress." Her smile softened. "You noticed? I wasn't sure you'd still be awake when I got home." I noticed. We sat there in the quiet kitchen, her hand on mine, the refrigerator humming in the background. This moment. It looked like love. It felt like love. If I didn't know what I knew, I would have believed it completely. Maybe that was the worst part. Not the betrayal itself, but how good she was at pretending it wasn't happening. "Come to bed," she said finally. "You need rest." I let her lead me upstairs, let her tuck me in like I was sick, which I guess I was, just not the way she thought. She kissed my forehead and curled up beside me, her breathing evening out within minutes. I lay there in the dark, listening to her sleep. My wife, my Jessica. I knew what I had to do. No more hiding, no more pretending I hadn't seen what I'd seen. But I needed proof. Real proof, not just Instagram photos and impossible timelines. Because when I confronted her, when I finally asked the question I was too afraid to ask tonight, I needed to be certain, and I needed to know exactly how deep this went. My phone sat on the nightstand, screen dark. Tomorrow I'd call in sick to the Bennett site, really sick this time, and I'd start finding answers. Jessica shifted beside me, her hand sliding across my chest in her sleep. An unconscious gesture of intimacy we'd shared for over a decade. I closed my eyes and tried not to think about Andrew Whitman's hand on her back. The smell of coffee pulled me from shallow sleep at 5:47 a.m. Jessica's side of the bed was already empty, sheets cool to the touch. I heard her moving around downstairs, the familiar rhythm of her morning routine, cabinet doors opening, the clink of her travel mug against the granite counter. I stayed motionless, staring at the ceiling fan making its slow rotations. My eyes felt like sandpaper. I'd maybe slept 2 hours total, watching the clock tick from midnight to 1 to 2 to 3. Every time I'd closed my eyes, I saw her pressed against that conference room wall, Andrew Whitman's hands on her waist. The stairs creaked. Jessica appeared in the doorway, already dressed in a charcoal suit I didn't recognize. Her hair was pulled back in that sleek ponytail she wore for court appearances. "Hey, you're awake." She crossed to the bed, leaned down to kiss my forehead. I forced myself not to flinch. "How are you feeling? Any better?" "Still pretty rough," I said. My voice came out hoarse, which helped sell it. "Poor thing." She straightened, checking her watch. "I've got an early meeting with the Riverside development team. Probably won't be home until 7 or 8. There's soup in the fridge if you need it." "Thanks." She hesitated at the door. "Maybe call Dr. Patterson if you're not better by this afternoon. Food poisoning can get serious." "I will." I listened to her footsteps descending, the jingle of her keys, the garage door rumbling open. Her BMW pulled out at 6:02 a.m. I knew because I was tracking every minute now, cataloging the lies. The house felt different in her absence. Quieter. Like a crime scene after the investigators leave. I got up and went straight to her home office. The room was meticulously organized. Jessica kept everything in its place. Built-in shelves lined with legal texts and case files. A mahogany desk that had cost more than my truck. I'd assembled it myself 2 years ago, following her precise instructions about which way it should face to catch the morning light. Her laptop sat closed on the desk. I opened it. Password protected, of course. I tried her birthday. Wrong. Our anniversary. Wrong. I had 2 more attempts before it locked me out. I sat back, thinking. Jessica was methodical about everything. She'd have written the password down somewhere, some backup in case she forgot. She was too practical not to. I pulled open the desk drawer. Pens, sticky notes, business cards. The second drawer held file folders, tax returns, insurance documents, mortgage papers. The bottom drawer was locked, a locked drawer in her own home office. I went to the garage and grabbed my toolbox. The lock was cheap, decorative more than functional. It took me maybe 30 seconds with a flathead screwdriver to pop it open. Inside were 3 things: a small leather journal, a burner phone, and a manila envelope. My hands shook as I reached for the journal first. The cover was soft, expensive. I flipped it open to the first page. Jessica's handwriting. Dated entries going back 14 months. March 15th, lunch with A at Riverside Bistro. He gets me in a way T never has. Talked for 2 hours about the Patterson case. He sees my potential. April 3rd, late night at the office. I brought champagne to celebrate the settlement. We almost kissed. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. April 18th. Can't stop thinking about him. This is dangerous. But T has been so distant lately. always tired from the sights. When did we stop really talking? I had to stop reading. My vision blurred, stomach churning worse than yesterday's actual food poisoning. But I forced myself to continue. May 22nd. It happened, after the Greenfield deposition. We stayed late, ordered dinner. He kissed me in the conference room. I should feel guilty. I don't. June 10th. T wants to try for a baby. How do I tell him I'm not sure anymore? How do I tell him I think I'm falling in love with someone else? The journal slipped from my hands, hit the floor with a soft thud. June. She'd known since June. We'd been trying to conceive since March, but by June, she was already checked out, already falling for Whitman. Every morning she'd taken her temperature, tracked her cycle, smiled at me across the breakfast table while I talked about becoming a father. All of it a performance. I picked up the burner phone. It was charged, ready. I powered it on. The text thread with A went back months. Hundreds of messages. I scrolled through them, each one a small detonation. Miss you already. Can still taste you. Tomorrow night, T has a late shift at the Parkview site. Book the room at the Grandview, same as last time. Love you. Soon we won't have to hide. The Grandview Hotel. I knew it. Upscale place downtown, the kind with a rooftop bar and rooms that cost $400 a night. I scrolled back through the messages, found references to at least 8 different meetings there over the past 4 months. The manila envelope was last. I already knew it would be bad. My hands were steady now, past shaking into some cold, numb place. Inside were printouts. Bank statements for an account I'd never seen before. Jessica's name only, opened 7 months ago. Regular deposits. Her bonuses, I realized. Money I'd assumed was going into our joint savings. Instead, she'd been building her own private fund. Current balance, $43,147. There were also printouts of apartment listings. All downtown, all luxury buildings. Studios and 1-bedrooms. She'd circled 3 of them in red ink. And at the bottom, a business card for a divorce attorney. Not someone from her firm. A specialist in high-asset divorces. On the back, in Jessica's handwriting, consultation scheduled for Nov 18, 10 a.m. November 18th was next Tuesday. She was planning to leave me. Had been planning it for months, methodically building her exit strategy while I'd been pricing out cribs and painting the spare bedroom yellow. I sat on the floor of her office, surrounded by the evidence of her betrayal, and felt something shift inside me. The numbness cracked. Underneath wasn't sadness or heartbreak. It was rage. Pure, cold, calculating rage. Jessica had been strategic about this. Careful. She'd documented nothing in places I might stumble across. She'd maintained the perfect wife routine while systematically dismantling our marriage behind my back. She'd let me talk about baby names while she booked hotel rooms with her lover. Fine. 2 could play strategic. I took photos of everything with my phone. Every page of the journal, every text message, the bank statements, the apartment listings, the attorney's card. I made sure the timestamps and details were clear in each shot. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it. Closed the journal to the same page. Positioned the phone at the same angle. Slid the envelope back with the same papers on top. Locked the drawer again, making sure the scratches from the screwdriver weren't obvious. I went upstairs and opened my laptop. Created a new email account under a name Jessica wouldn't recognize. Uploaded all the photos to a cloud drive, then emailed the link to myself at 3 different addresses. Printed copies and put them in my own locked box in the garage, hidden behind old paint cans. Then I called in sick to work for the rest of the week. I had 4 days before Jessica's consultation with the divorce attorney. 4 days to decide my next move. Because I wasn't going to let her control this narrative. Wasn't going to let her leave on her terms, with her secret bank account and her apartment already picked out. Wasn't going to be the clueless husband who never saw it coming. She wanted to play chess? I'd been a junior foreman for 3 years because I knew how to plan, how to execute, how to manage complex projects with multiple moving parts. Time to treat this marriage like a demolition job. Controlled, calculated, complete. The burner phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m., 3 minutes before my alarm. I'd been awake for an hour already, lying perfectly still beside Jessica while she slept. The phone sat on my nightstand now, plugged into the charger where hers usually went. She'd moved hers to the bathroom counter last night. A new habit, she'd said, because the blue light was affecting her sleep. Morning. Breakfast meeting with the Hartford team ran long yesterday. Couldn't stop thinking about you. Andrew's message glowed in the darkness. I watched Jessica's chest rise and fall, her face peaceful in sleep. The same face that had smiled at me over dinner last night while she asked about my day. The same mouth that had kissed my cheek and told me she loved me before rolling over. I typed back with her cadence, her abbreviations. Miss you too. Crazy day ahead. The response came immediately. Tonight? Same place, 7:30? My thumb hovered over the screen. Jessica stirred, and I darkened the display, setting it back exactly where she'd left it. She'd check it the moment she woke up. She always did now, another new habit I'd been too trusting to question. The shower started at 7:15. I heard her humming something while water ran, the same off-key melody she'd hummed for 12 years. My phone sat on the kitchen counter where I'd left it, already loaded with the contact information I'd need. I'd spent most of yesterday making calls from the construction site, walking between the foundation forms with my phone pressed to my ear. 5 different conversations, each one carefully structured. The first had been with Robert Myers. No, I couldn't use that name. Robert Bailey, a divorce attorney 3 towns over, recommended by Tom from the electrical crew who'd gone through his own divorce 2 years back. Bailey had listened to my situation with the kind of quiet that suggested he'd heard it all before. Don't confront her, he'd said. Not yet. You've got evidence, but you need strategy. Come in tomorrow at 4. Bring everything. The second call had been to my bank. I'd opened my own account at a different branch, transferred exactly half of our joint savings. Not $1 more. Bailey had been explicit about that. Take only what's legally yours. Nothing that looks like spite. The third call had taken the longest. Jessica's firm had a human resources department, and HR departments had policies about workplace relationships, especially between senior partners and subordinates. I'd posed as a potential client, asked general questions about the firm's structure, their ethics guidelines. The woman on the phone had been helpful, almost chatty. Oh yes, we take workplace conduct very seriously. Sterling and Associates has a strict fraternization policy. Partners are absolutely prohibited from relationships with associates or staff. It's a terminable offense. I'd thanked her and hung up. The fourth call had been to the Grandview Hotel. I'd asked about their records retention policy, whether they kept security footage from their parking garage. The manager had been less helpful, but he'd confirmed they maintained digital records for 90 days minimum. The fifth call I'd made from my truck during lunch, parked 3 blocks from the site where no one could overhear. Andrew Whitman's wife, Catherine, according to the firm's website, had a public Facebook profile. Her posts were sparse but revealing. Book club meetings, garden photos, proud mentions of her daughter's graduate program at Cornell. I hadn't called her. Not yet. But I had her number now, copied from a charity fundraiser page where she'd listed herself as the contact for donations. The shower shut off at 7:32. Jessica emerged in her towel, hair wrapped up, skin flushed from the heat. She smiled at me over her coffee cup. You're up early. Couldn't sleep. Not a lie. Still feeling okay? No more stomach issues? I'm fine. She moved to the bedroom and I heard her phone chime. Once, twice, I imagined her reading Andrew's messages, typing back her response, confirming tonight's meeting or postponing it. Either way, she'd lie about where she was going. She emerged 20 minutes later in a charcoal suit I'd never seen before. New, probably. Expensive. The kind of thing you wear when you want to impress someone. I might be late tonight, she said, adjusting her earrings in the hallway mirror. We've got a client dinner, the Hartford acquisition team. There it was. The lie delivered smoothly while she checked her lipstick. What time do you think you'll be back? 9, maybe 9:30? I'll text you when we're wrapping up. She kissed my cheek, her perfume sharp and floral. Love you. The door closed behind her at 8:03. I waited until her car pulled out of the driveway, then opened my laptop. The document I'd started last night filled the screen. A timeline, cross-referenced with the journal entries I'd photographed. Every hotel meeting, every late night at the office, every business trip that might not have been business at all. I'd marked them in red, added the corresponding text messages from the burner phone, included screenshots of the secret bank account transactions. 14 months of deception, laid out in brutal clarity. Bailey had said to bring everything. I printed 3 copies, sealed them in separate envelopes. One for him, one for my safety deposit box at the new bank, one for... My phone rang. Unknown number. This is David Sterling. The voice was clipped, professional. Senior founding partner at Sterling & Associates. I'd seen his photo on the website. Silver-haired, mid-60s, the kind of face that belonged on corporate brochures. My throat went dry. Can I help you? I hope so. I'm calling about a matter involving one of our partners. Jessica Brennan is your wife, correct? The kitchen felt suddenly smaller. Yes. I received an interesting email this morning. Anonymous, but detailed. It contained allegations about a relationship between Mrs. Brennan and another partner at our firm, Andrew Whitman. I said nothing. I hadn't sent any email. The sender included several photographs, Sterling continued. Time-stamped images from what appears to be hotel security footage, the Grand View, specifically. I've confirmed with the hotel that the images are authentic. Someone else knew. Someone else had evidence. I'm calling as a courtesy, Sterling said, because these allegations, if true, represent a serious violation of our firm's ethics policies. I wanted to inform you before we begin our internal investigation. I appreciate that. I'm sorry you're dealing with this, Mr. Brennan. Truly. But I want you to know that Sterling & Associates does not tolerate this kind of behavior. If the investigation confirms what these photographs suggest, there will be consequences. He hung up before I could respond. I stood in my kitchen holding my phone, trying to process what had just happened. Someone had sent evidence to Jessica's firm. Not me. Someone else who knew about the affair, who had access to hotel footage, who wanted Andrew Whitman exposed. Catherine Whitman. It had to be. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica. Forgot my portfolio. Can you drop it at the office around 11? The black leather portfolio sat on the dining room table where she'd left it. I'd seen her working from it last night, reviewing contracts while I pretended to watch television. I picked it up, felt its weight. Inside would be client files, legal documents, probably notes from recent meetings. The zipper opened smoothly. Papers, a yellow legal pad, 2 pens, a folder labeled Hartford Acquisition with what looked like genuine contract drafts. And underneath, tucked into the inside pocket, a small envelope, unsealed. Inside, a key card. No markings, but the magnetic strip was worn from use. The Grandview Hotel's key cards were distinctive, cream-colored with gold edging. I'd seen them in the photographs from Jessica's journal, the ones she'd kept as souvenirs from their meetings. This wasn't a souvenir. This was active. Current. Room 1247. The number was written on the envelope in Andrew's handwriting. I recognized it from the notes I'd seen on the burner phone, the quick scrawls about meeting times and places. I photographed the key card, front and back, then slipped it back into the envelope exactly as I'd found it. My watch read 9:17. Jessica would be at the office by now, probably in her morning meetings. Andrew would be there too, both of them going through their professional routines while David Sterling began his investigation. I had Jessica's portfolio. I had the key to their hotel room. I had 4 hours before she expected me at her office, and I had a choice to make. I stood in the parking garage holding Jessica's portfolio, the hotel key card burning like a coal in my pocket. The clock on my phone read 3:47 p.m. 3 hours and 43 minutes until whatever Jessica had planned for 7:30. The Grandview Hotel was 12 minutes away. I'd driven past it 100 times without thinking twice about the gleaming glass tower downtown. Now I couldn't stop calculating distances, timing, possibilities. My phone buzzed. Jessica. Did you find it? Meeting starts in 10. I texted back. On my way. The drive to her office passed in a blur. I parked in the visitor section again, took the elevator to 20, walked through the same hallways where I'd hidden in the stairwell 5 days ago. The frosted glass conference room stood empty now, chairs pushed neatly under the table. No celebration, no champagne, just the ghost of a kiss I couldn't unsee. The receptionist recognized me this time. Mr. Patterson, she's expecting you. Jessica's office door was closed. I knocked twice. Come in. She sat behind her desk, phone pressed to her ear, looking exhausted in a way I hadn't seen before. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun instead of her usual careful styling. She gestured me in, mouthed, sorry, pointed at a chair. I set the portfolio on her desk and stayed standing. I understand the timeline, she said into the phone. Her voice had that clipped professional tone she used with difficult clients. But I need to review the documentation before I can provide guidance. Yes, tomorrow morning. Thank you. She hung up and closed her eyes for a long moment. Thank you for bringing this. She pulled the portfolio toward her, didn't open it. I know you weren't feeling well. I appreciate it. No problem. She looked up at me then, really looked, and something flickered across her face. Concern? Guilt? I couldn't read her anymore. Maybe I never could. Are you okay? You look pale. Still recovering. The lie came easily now. Everything was lies. I should let you get back to work. Wait. She stood, came around the desk. For a horrible second I thought she might hug me, might touch me, and I didn't know if I could maintain the mask if she did. But she just leaned against the desk edge, arms crossed. I might be late tonight. This case is getting complicated. How late? I'm not sure. Don't wait up. The hotel key card felt like it weighed 10 pounds. Okay. I'm sorry. I know we were supposed to talk about the appointment next week, but it's fine. I moved toward the door before she could say anything else. Good luck with your case. I made it to the elevator before my hands started shaking. The Grandview Hotel lobby dripped with the kind of understated luxury that made my 10-year-old truck seem even more pathetic. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, a concierge desk staffed by someone who probably earned more than I did. I walked past it all like I belonged there, headed straight for the elevators. The key card worked. 12th floor, room 1247. The hallway was empty, silent except for the hum of ice machines and climate control. I stood outside the door for 30 seconds, listening. Nothing. I slid the key card through the reader. Green light. Click. The room was a suite. Living area with a couch and desk, separate bedroom visible through an open door. Everything immaculate, professionally cleaned, waiting. The curtains were drawn against the afternoon sun, leaving the space in artificial twilight. I stood in the entrance, not sure what I was looking for. Evidence? I had plenty. Confirmation? I'd watched them kiss, read their messages, seen the pattern of hotel charges stretching back 14 months. But I walked in anyway. The desk held hotel stationery, a leather folder with room service menus, a card listing amenities. The minibar was stocked. The bathroom contained fresh towels, expensive toiletries, robes hanging on hooks. Nothing personal. Nothing that screamed affair. Then I opened the bedroom closet. A garment bag hung on the left side. I unzipped it slowly, already knowing what I'd find. The red dress? The one she'd worn to her promotion party. The one she'd been wearing when Andrew Whitman kissed her in the conference room. Next to it, a man's suit. Charcoal gray, expensive fabric. A white dress shirt still in dry cleaning plastic. I backed away from the closet, sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress was firm, high-end. How many times had they been here? The hotel records Robert Bailey had pulled showed 8 separate charges to Andrew's corporate card, but those were just the ones we'd found. How many more had been paid in cash? How many afternoons had Jessica texted me about working late while she was here, in this room, in this bed? My phone buzzed. Jessica. Meeting running long. Definitely going to be late. Love you. I stared at those last 2 words until they stopped meaning anything. The digital clock on the nightstand read 4:23 p.m., 3 hours and 7 minutes. I could wait. Hide in the bathroom, confront them when they arrived. Watch Jessica's face when she realized I knew. Watch Andrew Whitman try to explain why his suit was hanging in a hotel closet with my wife's dress. Or I could leave. Let them have their evening. Let Jessica think she was still in control, still managing her careful exit strategy, while her entire world collapsed around her. The firm's investigation, the anonymous evidence, Catherine Whitman circling like a shark. Jessica didn't know any of it yet. She thought she was safe, thought she had time, thought she could schedule her divorce attorney appointment and plan her new life while I stayed oblivious at home. I stood, walked back to the closet, and pulled out my phone. Photographed the red dress, the suit, the hotel room number visible on the door. Added them to the folder I'd been building. Sent copies to Robert Bailey's secure email. Then I left the key card on the desk where they'd find it, right next to the room service menu. Let them wonder. Let them panic. Let them try to figure out who'd been in their room, who knew, who was watching. I made it back to my truck before the rage hit. Not the cold, calculating anger that had carried me through the last 5 days. This was something hotter, messier, harder to control. I gripped the steering wheel and counted breaths until my vision cleared. 7:30. They'd arrive at the hotel, find the key card moved, realize someone had been there. Would they cancel? Run? Would Andrew finally understand that his tidy little affair had consequences? My phone rang. Robert Bailey. I got your photos, he said without preamble. Where are you? Leaving the Grandview. A pause. You went to the room. I had the key card. Did you take anything? Move anything besides the key? No, just photographs. Good, that's good. He exhaled slowly. Listen, I got a call from David Sterling's attorney an hour ago. Off the record, colleague to colleague. The firm's investigation is moving faster than expected. They found security footage from 3 different hotels, email chains, expense reports that don't match calendar entries. They're building a termination case. How long? Days, not weeks. Sterling wants this handled before it becomes a liability issue. If clients find out a senior partner was billing affair time to corporate accounts, he didn't finish the sentence. Have you decided on your timeline? Timeline. Such a clinical word for destroying a marriage. I'm still gathering information. The hotel room was risky. If they realize someone's been there, let them realize. The words came out harder than I intended. Let them spend the evening wondering who knows, what evidence exists, how exposed they are. Robert was quiet for a moment. That's not bad strategy, actually. Psychological pressure. Make them sloppy. Make them panic. Panicked people make mistakes. I'm not trying to be strategic, I stopped, not sure how to finish. Angry, Robert supplied. You're allowed to be angry. Just don't do anything that compromises our position. No confrontations, no dramatic scenes, not yet. When? When we have everything we need. When the timing gives you maximum leverage. When you're ready. He paused. Are you ready? Through the windshield, I could see the Grandview's glass tower reflecting the late afternoon sun. In 3 hours, Jessica would walk through that lobby, take the elevator to 12, open the door to room 1247. She'd see the key card on the desk and know something was wrong. Good. Not yet, I said, but soon. I filed for divorce on a Tuesday morning, 9 days after the promotion party. Robert Bailey walked me through it in his office, the papers spread across his desk like blueprints. Everything documented, everything clean. The evidence filled 3 binders: photographs, bank statements, hotel records, text messages from the burner phone, 14 months of Jessica's affair, organized chronologically with cross-references and timestamps. You're sure? Robert asked, pen hovering over the signature line. I thought about the key card I'd left on that hotel desk. About Jessica coming home at 11:43 p.m. that night, pale and shaken, claiming the client dinner had run late. About how she'd checked her phone 17 times during breakfast the next morning, her hands trembling slightly around her coffee cup. I signed my name. The process server delivered the papers to Jessica's office at 2:15 p.m. I know because Robert called me the moment it was done. I was at the Bennett Street site, watching concrete being poured for foundation walls, when my phone rang. It's done, he said simply. Jessica called me at 2:47 p.m. I let it go to voicemail. She called again at 3:03, 3:19, 3:34. By the 5th call, I turned my phone off. I went home at 6 and found her car already in the driveway. She met me at the door, still in her work suit, mascara smudged under her eyes. We need to talk, she said. There's nothing to talk about. Please, just let me explain. Explain what? I walked past her into the kitchen, started feeding Biscuit like it was any other evening. Explain the hotel rooms? The secret bank account? The apartment listings? Which part needs explaining, Jessica? Her face went white. How did you? I saw you. The dog food hit the bowl with sharp, metallic sounds. The night of your promotion party. I came to surprise you. Instead, I watched you kiss Andrew Whitman through the conference room glass. She grabbed the counter like her legs might give out. That was... We didn't what? Didn't think I'd find out? Didn't think there'd be consequences? I turned to face her. You've been planning to leave me for months, building your exit fund, picking out apartments, scheduling consultations with divorce attorneys. The only difference is I'm leaving first. I never meant to hurt you, her voice cracked. It just happened. We were working together, and he understood things about my career that you don't. The word came out sharp enough to cut. Don't make this about us growing apart or you finding yourself or whatever justification you've been rehearsing. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Every hotel room, every lie, every time you came home and kissed me while his cologne was still on your clothes. She was crying now, mascara running in dark tracks down her face. What about 12 years? Doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. To me. I picked up my keys from the counter. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. My attorney will be in touch about the house, the assets, all of it. You'll get exactly what you're entitled to legally. Nothing more. Where are you going? Does it matter? She reached for my arm. I stepped back. I loved you, I said quietly. For 12 years, I loved you completely. I would have given you anything, been anything you needed. But you chose someone else and you chose to lie about it while planning your exit. So now you get what you wanted, just not on your timeline. I left her standing in our kitchen, still crying, and walked out of the house we'd built together. The divorce took 7 months. David Sterling fired both Jessica and Andrew Whitman 3 weeks after I filed. The firm's investigation had uncovered not just the affair, but systematic billing fraud, hours charged to client accounts while they were at hotels, expense reports for business dinners that were actually personal meetings. Sterling and Associates settled with affected clients quietly, but the legal community talks. Jessica's reputation was damaged beyond repair. Andrew Whitman's wife filed for divorce 2 days after the termination. She got the house, primary custody of their college-aged kids, and a settlement that left him in a 2-bedroom apartment in a bad part of town. I never contacted Catherine Whitman, never confirmed she was the one who sent evidence to Sterling's firm. But sometimes justice finds its own way. Jessica tried to fight the divorce at first, wanted counseling, wanted to work through this. Her attorney, the same one whose card I'd found in her locked drawer, withdrew from the case when he realized how much evidence I had. The second attorney she hired took one look at Robert Bailey's documentation and advised her to settle. We split the house equity down the middle. I kept my truck and my tools. She kept her car and her student loans. The dog was harder. We both wanted Biscuit. In the end, I took him. Jessica was moving to a studio apartment that didn't allow pets. Another consequence she hadn't planned for. I saw her one last time at the final hearing. She looked smaller somehow, worn down by 7 months of legal proceedings and unemployment. She'd found work at a smaller firm across the state, a significant step down from Sterling and Associates. Andrew Whitman had moved to another city entirely. I heard they weren't together anymore. Turned out an affair built on deception, and hotel rooms didn't translate well to real life. The judge signed the decree at 10:23 a.m. on a Thursday in June. 12 years, dissolved in a signature. Jessica caught me in the courthouse hallway afterward. "I'm sorry," she said, "for all of it. You deserved better." I looked at her. This woman I'd loved, this stranger I'd married, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a vast and empty quiet. "Yeah," I said. I did. 2 years later, I'm sitting on the deck of a house I built myself, watching the sun set over the mountains. It's smaller than the suburban place Jessica and I shared, but it's mine. Every beam, every nail, every decision. Biscuit sleeps at my feet, gray starting to show around his muzzle. The construction company promoted me to senior project manager 18 months ago. I lead a team of 40 now, overseeing commercial developments across 3 states. The work is demanding, fulfilling, real. I date occasionally. Nothing serious yet. I'm not sure I'm ready for serious, and I'm okay with that. I've learned that being alone is different from being lonely, and that rebuilding yourself takes time. You can't rush foundation work. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't gone to that promotion party. If I'd stayed home with my food poisoning, remained oblivious for weeks or months more. If Jessica had been the one to file, on her timeline, with her careful planning intact. But I did go. I did see. And in the end, maybe that was the gift. Knowing the truth, refusing to live in a comfortable lie, choosing my own dignity over false peace. The betrayal taught me something I wish I'd learned another way. That love without honesty is just elaborate pretending. That you can share a home, a bed, a life with someone and still be strangers. That the person who promises forever might be planning their exit while you're planning your future. But it also taught me that I'm stronger than I thought. That I could face the worst truth and survive it. That I could build something new from the rubble of what I'd lost. The sun drops below the ridgeline, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Biscuit stirs, looks up at me with those patient brown eyes. "Come on, buddy," I say, standing. "Let's go inside." Tomorrow I start a new project. A medical center downtown. 18 months of complex work. Tonight I'll review the plans, make notes, prepare. The same way I've learned to approach everything now. Methodical, clear-eyed, trusting only what I can verify. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone again the way I trusted Jessica. Maybe that capacity broke along with the marriage. Or maybe, eventually, I'll meet someone who earns it honestly, day by day, with actions that match their words. Either way, I'm okay. The house is quiet but not empty. The work is hard but satisfying. The future is uncertain but mine. And sometimes, that's enough.